I was initially motivated to use social media to connect with researchers internationally, as well as practitioners, so practicing English language teachers. And because my field is pretty much based around the world, I felt that was one of the best ways to make some wide connections. I use several social networking platforms. I use Facebook, which is mainly to connect with teachers and practitioners, and there are various Facebook groups that I belong to. I use Twitter to mainly connect with researchers, but also I tend to pick up a lot of teachers who are interested in doing research and want to sort of connect in that area. I also use Scoop.it, where I curate topics on, or particular topics that I'm interested in terms of classroom research, and researchers and teachers tend to access that site. And I use another one, paper.ly, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, where that actually collects all of the tweets that go through my Twitter feed and turns it into a kind of a newspaper. So I use that, believe it or not, to connect with everybody, but also to advertise the course that I convene. I was actually quite surprised that opportunities came through these social media channels. The first one, which I was delighted with, was an invitation to write a book chapter from somebody who I'd never actually met, but we had started conversing on Twitter. I've also been invited to present at a couple of conferences to present my work through people who had read some of my things on Twitter. And also I've been invited to host and moderate several Twitter chats and Facebook discussions with language teachers. So all of that's really through networking through the various social media networks. Not many of my colleagues in linguistics do use social media, which was a little bit of a surprise to me, because I think in linguistics we're interested in language, we're interested in how language is used in all different kinds of settings, but I do see that people are getting more interested, particularly in helping them to connect and make networks for their research. I think it's probably a little easier to say things to your colleagues or to people in your networks on social media that you wouldn't normally face to face. And I think that's probably the biggest danger that you want to look out for. That really, don't post anything on your social networks that you wouldn't say to somebody face to face. It's quite easy to look critical about somebody's research or practice. Without being able to back that up particularly on Twitter, where you've only got 140 characters. My use of social networking is actually complements my face-to-face networking with my peers and my research colleagues, particularly when conferences are coming up and we start to organise various events that are off the program. For example, let's the 3 or 4 of us meet and have a coffee and talk about that research project. So I've done that, and I've actually met face to face with people who I've met on Twitter but have never actually met before at conferences in Liverpool in the UK, in Japan, and also English Australia conferences around the country here. I like to keep abreast of the recent findings and relevant publications in the field, mainly by using listservs, journal alerts, and I make use of those through the library extensively, but also Twitter, and I follow several hashtags where people tend to promote their research or promote others' research that they've come across. Social media has boosted my academic profile and particularly internationally quite substantially, and I do that not through intentionally just promoting myself, but through sharing work with others, through sharing others' work, but also when I have something that I've published that I think would be useful to a particular discussion or area, then of course I'll promote that too. For students who want to develop their insider status of the discipline, become part of the community, I think social networking, particularly Twitter and Facebook chats, can really help you join in the big conversations around the field and around what's going on. So it's not just about reading an article and perhaps writing your personal response to it, but it's like you're at a conference. And you're talking about somebody's presentation over a coffee, but you're able to do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think if I could give one piece of advice, and it's from what I learned from the beginning, is follow a handful of influential people who are actually tweeting useful and relevant things for your discipline. Follow them, and then you can slowly start to follow the people who are following them and build up a network that way. I wouldn't go out there and just try and follow as many people as you possibly can. That's not the way that Twitter works, and I don't think it's the way that other social networking works. Be selective.